Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We are living in a post-Bruin age, and that doesn't just mean successes for the firearms community, unfortunately. Something that we gotta continue and remind ourselves is that the anti-Second Amendment groups are not just against us, but they are constantly working against us. Now, this isn't necessarily something that has happened in California, although we have seen a lot of things legislatively that look like are going to be coming down the pike in 2023 that fly directly in the face of the Bruin decision. But I did want to take notice of something that did come out of Mississippi. So, Jacob, if you can pull this up, here's an article from our good old friends at the corporate media Slate with an article titled, "A Federal Judge Calls Clarence Thomas's Bluff on Gun Rights and Originalism." This article is referencing Judge Carlton Reeves out of the Southern District of Mississippi. And, of course, they are glorifying this as a huge blow to the pro-Second Amendment lobby on the Bruin decision and what it did, not just for concealed carry holders in the future, but also the scope by which a court can view Second Amendment cases, which is text, history, and tradition. So let's get into this here. The justices of the Supreme Court, distinguished as they may be, are not trained historians, he wrote. Federal judges lack both the methodology and the substantive knowledge that historians possess. The sifting of evidence that judges perform is different than the sifting of sources and methodologies that historians perform. And we are not experts in what white, wealthy, and male property owners thought about firearms regulations in 1791. Putting oneself in the mindset of rich white men of the 18th century requires training and practice, yet we are now expected to play historians in the name of Constitution adjudication. So basically what he's doing here is he is making the claim that we need to bring on historians into the courtroom, but what he is really claiming is that we need to wait so that we can find historians that will make things up and try to rewrite the laws of history so that we can bring decisions to Second Amendment cases that we actually want to push forth. See, the fact of the matter is, if you want to know what white, wealthy, landowning males were thinking in 1791, you actually don't need a history degree. Really, all you need is a 6th grade reading level and the want for freedom in your heart. It turns out, these people in 1791, who he is referring to, had to create a government, and that's the government that we know today. But in order to create a government, you kind of have to write a lot of stuff down. So fortunately, with these things that we got, smartphones or whatever, and Google, you can look up just about everything these guys were thinking and the way that the world was in 1791. So just for the justice in Mississippi, I thought we might bring up a couple of these. Thomas Jefferson, in the Commonplace Book, 1774 to 1776, the laws that forbid the carrying of firearms are laws of such a nature. They disarm only those who are neither inclined nor determined to commit crimes. Such laws make things worse for the assaulted, and better for the assailants. They serve rather to encourage than to prevent homicides. For an unarmed man to be attacked with greater confidence than an armed man. I mean, are we not making this exact same argument today? Especially with the Bruin decision. We are talking about legally arming as many people as possible, and Thomas Jefferson knew it in 1776. He's telling us here that you are less likely to be attacked, and it's better for everyone. If everybody knows you have a firearm, it's going to deter crime. So how about another one? To disarm people is the most effectual way to enslave them. This is George Mason at the Convention on the Adoption of the Federalist Constitution, 1788. How about another one from George Mason addressing the Virginia Ratifying Convention on June 4th of 1788? I ask, who are the militia? They consist now of the whole people except a few public officers. So again, we're talking about this discussion on how to interpret the Second Amendment. We don't really need to interpret anymore. Yes, this is history, but I'm doing this without a history degree. It's literally reading what George Mason wrote all the way back then. How about this one from Richard Henry Lee, Federalist Farmer number 18, 1788. A militia, when properly formed, are in fact the people themselves. and include, according to the past and general usage of the states, all men capable of bearing arms. All men capable of bearing arms. There are plenty of people who have understood the Second Amendment to be this way for a very long time, and here's the proof. It's in the pudding, 1788. All of these rich, white, land-owning men were pretty darn clear in just about everything they wrote on how firearms and firearms regulations should be treated in the United States. And, I got to be honest, the way that this is shaping up, it obviously seems like the correct decision, the way that Bruen was decided. And of course, this is a judge who is being a political activist. This is not a judge who is inclined to constitutionally understand law and the way that this precedent from Bruen has been sent down. This is an individual who wants to see firearms taken away from people in the United States. And they have to do it this way. They have to play this way. Have you ever asked yourself why you don't see anything from the corporate media attacking CCW permit holders? It's because they are comprised of the lowest crime percentages you'll see across any demographic. Look for the link down in the description below. There's a lot of myths that can be busted, but I'll just list off a few. I think in Florida, when they made it easier for CCW permits to be obtained, I think crime dropped from like 39% above the national average to being 4% below. We saw similar statistics in Texas when they made it very easy to get a CCW permit. CCW permit holders across the nation consistently are less than 1% of crimes committed with firearms. There's a reason for that. So when you have legislators and you have attorneys who can't bash on the CCW community, there's really only one route for them, and that is to legislatively make sure that CCW permits can't be had through other regulations. We're going to continue and see this with things like SB 918 in 2023. We need to fight back against them, but now is the time. I understand there are some places throughout California that have long wait lines, and CRPA is going to continue to work with sheriffs to make sure that these processes are cleaned up. But now is the time to get a CCW permit. The proof is in the pudding. The crime rates, the statistics, they are all in our favor. And I don't even understand why, these legislators we see why the sheriffs want CCW permits, but I don't understand why you as a legislator would not want more people to have CCW permits. The crime rates are way down. So if it's not that, then there's obviously another agenda going on here. We're going to continue fighting against this agenda. I hope you join us in doing so. Be sure and check back with us the next time. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe this information. Again, we got the links down for you below. Make sure and check them out. We've done videos in the past on how to argue Second Amendment points. This is a good resource for that. So go ahead and check that out, and we'll see you next one.